Assalamu alaikum wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Amma ba'd. My name is Musibir Alam. I'm the co-founder of Canadian Muslim Alliance and also Peace Initiatives Canada. And today we have gathered here to talk about Ramadan. It's the month of Ramadan, the most blessed month in the Islamic calendar. And as you know, the month of Ramadan is the month where we increase our worship and also we dedicate ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in Ramadan, obviously we have different things that we do in the month of Ramadan than regular months. So to explain those, I have with me the panel, and on my right I have Sheikh Imran Sharif. He's the Imam of Madani Mosque in Ville Saint Laurent and also the board member of Canadian Muslim Alliance. And also on my left I have Sheikh Adil Ahmed, the co-founder of Canadian Muslim Alliance, and as well as the Imam in Dar es Salaam Mosque in Pierrefonds, in Dollar des Amants or Pierrefonds. And also he's also part of the Islam Educational Foundation in BC. So welcome, both of you. So today we're talking about Ramadan, as we heard, and obviously Ramadan is something very dear and near to the Muslims in general. So I would request first Sheikh Imran to give us a little bit of intro about Ramadan.
I'll start by reciting the main verse for the month of Ramadan. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون صدق الله العلي العظيم. So this is the main verse for the month of Ramadan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that in this month I have made fasting, I have prescribed fasting upon you. Just like many of the previous nations, ummats, they had fasting prescribed upon them as well. But this ummat, this nation of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has been given a very special task, and we will go into the details of this later. And what is the jaza? What is the reward of this auspicious month of fasting? لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Just so that you can gain piety. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the last day of Ramadan, when the Ramadan was about to start, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave a sermon to his companions. And in the sermon he gave the virtues of the month of Ramadan. And he said, this is a month فُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُ الْجَنَّةِ. Subhanallah. He said, the doors of paradise are wide open. It's an opportunity for everyone. It's an opportunity. Just go ahead, get into that door. Enter that door. فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ. The second thing, what did he say? وَلِقَتْ أَبْوَابُ النَّارِ. He said the doors of hellfire, the doors of Jahannam, the doors of that ugly side. There's only two places. There's paradise or Jahannam. May Allah Ta'ala give us all Jannah. Say Ameen.
Ameen.
And may Allah Ta'ala save us from Jahannam. In this great month of Ramadan, the doors of Jahannam are closed. It's something that gives us solace. Alhamdulillah, we're saved. And then the third aspect, Sulsilat al-Shayateen. The devils, the shayateen are chained up. So now you cannot give me a story, oh, shaitan told me to do this, shaitan said, no, shayateen are locked up. Fasting is going to get you taqwa, doors of paradise are open, the doors of Jahannam are locked up, and the shayateen are chained away. Let's make this happen.
MashaAllah. So the shaitan actually was locked up before the Ramadan, right? So when does he actually get locked up?
As soon as we see the hilal of Ramadan,
okay,
all the criminals are off the land, and now we have a straight path. The highway is cleared. You can do what you want and get straight to Allah. No distractions, no one to bother you. It's all yours.
Alhamdulillah. So this is a blessing that we have as Muslims. from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is a wonderful opportunity to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as I have mentioned. So, and many people are actually don't know about Ramadan, what we do in Ramadan. So I'm going to ask Sheikh Adil that if you can explain that in a nutshell, what is Ramadan? What do we do in Ramadan?
Well, the main action that takes place in this blessed month of Ramadan, in the same hadith Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions that Allah has made fard fasting in the month of Ramadan. So, us Muslims, we fast during this blessed month. This is the action during the daytime. During the night, we have Salat al-Taraweeh. Inshallah, we'll touch upon this a bit later. Now, in terms of fasting, basically it consists of staying away from those factors which will cause our fast to be broken from the time dawn comes in until sunset. So from these times, from dawn until sunset, we have to stay away from food, we have to stay away from drink, and we have to stay away from marital relations, intercourse, or whatever falls in its ruling. This is basically a nutshell of what fasting is. So anything coming into our mouths, eating some solid, this is considered like eating. Some liquid going down our throats, something reaching our belly, this is drinking. And then, of course, marital relations, or something else which might fall in its ruling. This is another thing. These are the three things which will cause a person's fast to break. So as long as we remain away from these things, then the main obligation of fasting will be fulfilled. Now, over and above that, there are other things which will make our fast more or less virtuous. Things which will not necessarily cause our fast to break, but will reduce from its value. And these things also we'll touch in a couple of minutes.
So a lot of times the kids the adults, they have this question that there's a confusion about it, and whether smoking breaks the fast or not. So is that something that will also consider as breaking the reason for breaking fast?
Yes, smoking is one of those things which causes fast to break. When a person, he will take in this smoke and he will actively do it in this manner, then his fast will be broken. So this, for our brothers and sisters who might be in this habit, it's something to be mindful of, that this is another one of the sacrifices that we have to make. We leave off smoking from this time, and inshallah, maybe this becomes a mean for us for leaving it off for the rest of our lives, inshallah.
Mm-hmm. So, that's good to know that, and also the fact that Ramadan is the time to devote ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is a month that Allah has blessed us and to do all these things. But often as human beings, we look for virtues, we look for the benefits. And if we see a benefit for something, then obviously we're inclined to do that. So I would request Sheikh Imran to give us a little bit of virtues of Ramadan, what we'll get as believers, as Muslims, when we fast in the month of Ramadan.
You see, Ramadan, the days and nights of Ramadan are so special. Now, I would like to give an example, when Black Friday comes, or it's Christmas time, and we just to get that new iPhone or new Samsung device, we're standing at those Apple stores right from midnight, or maybe even in the evening, and there's line, and as soon as the doors open, wow, bam, everyone's in there, and everyone's trying to get everything. So Ramadan is far greater than that. We have to, sometimes we don't feel it, but we don't feel it because the environment that we're in is not pushing us towards this. But if we go to the masjid and if we choose some friends so that our friends can push us in that direction, a bit with love and affection. So Ramadan, you see, let's talk about Taraweeh, right? Every sajda a person makes, every sajda a person makes in Taraweeh, he gets 1,500 hasanats, 1,500 rewards, one sajda. So one rak'at is getting him 3,000 rewards. Can you imagine? That's just 2 times you hit the floor. So in one rak'at you did four sajdas. You did 2 sajdas. And you just multiply that with the times you're making sajda and the tarawih and so on and so forth. Can you imagine, if I was going to give you $1,500, you would be so happy. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, fasting is a way that a person can get very close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For other actions in Islam, salat, zakat, hajj, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I have allotted this reward for this person. But fasting is such a great reward, it's such a great ibadah, such a great worship. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I myself, I will compensate him when he comes to me. I myself, I'll be the compensation for him. Fasting is a shield. It's a protective shield. What's a shield? A shield protects you from any harm that might come your way. So a person who's going through problems, he starts fasting. He comes in. We used to play Super Mario 3 when we were kids, and when you jump and you hit that brick, the star falls out, and now you catch that star. You're flashing all of a sudden, and by that flashing star, you can get through the game so quick. Fasting, it brings you in that shield, Star Wars shield. For those of you who know Star Wars, you get in that protective shield, and now it's the fastest way to get to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Being protected from shaitan and the traps of shaitan.
That's wonderful actually. I like the example of Super Mario because growing up also we played Super Mario, and I remember that we were looking for that hit that small boxes like a treasure box, right? And as soon as you hit that, you get that energy to move forward. And it is true that in Ramadan, many people ask that, in Ramadan you're fasting down to the sunset, you must be tired. But physically, even though we feel tired, but you both agree that I think we also feel energized in Ramadan. We have this special, energy and the spiritual power that enables us to do the things that we do in a normal time, but even more. Because in Ramadan, we are actually, because you mentioned all these benefits, you mentioned all these virtues, so it encourages us to do more in the month of Ramadan. So now that we know the virtues, I think it's also good to know that how can we maximize this virtue. That means, what are the things that will lessen the value of Ramadan. You did a little bit of touch base at the beginning, so I'll ask Sheikh Adil that what are the things we should avoid or that might devalue the Ramadan itself.
So basically, there are several levels we'll look into. First, there's those deeds which will cause our fast to be broken outright. So nor will you get the spiritual reward, nor will the obligation be fulfilled. Then there are other things that you do which will cause the basic fast to remain, but the spiritual reward will be lost. And then there's other things which, mistakes that people make, but they do not really cause much decrease in the reward. It's a slip up. So first and foremost, those things which cause our fast to be outright broken is when we take these things which cause our fast to be broken. If a person, he eats intentionally, he knows he's fasting, but he eats something. Now his fast is broken. Now out of the sanctity of the time is the blessed month of Ramadan, and the Muslims are fasting. So even though his fast is broken, he should remain in the shape that his broken fast is undercover. He should not be exposing his fault. No one wants to put a sign on their chest that I am a criminal. It's disgraceful, no matter how you look at it. So if a person happens to eat intentionally, he drinks intentionally, or he happens to have marital relations intentionally, then he should conceal it. His fast is broken, but he should conceal it. He should not, openly be eating. He should remain like a person who's fasting. Then there are those things which cause the value of a fast to decrease. Now, along with staying away from food and from drink and from marital relations, we should always be staying away from those things which are haram. We should always be avoiding those things which are haram. So whatever our eyes are looking at, We should avoid looking at things which we should not be looking at. We should not be listening to things which we're not supposed to. We should not be thinking about things we're not supposed to. We should not be taking our body to places that we are not supposed to be going. These are the things which will cause the value for a fast to be broken, or to be decreased. A person, like Shaykh Imran recited, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you may attain taqwa, you may attain piety. So we want to protect ourselves from those deeds which are haram throughout the rest of the year. For a short period there, we're being told to stay away from food, drink, and marital relations. And even though nobody's watching us, we don't say, hey, the fridge is right there. Nobody's watching me. Quickly sneak by and get a quick drink of water. We know that Allah is watching us.
That's right.
So what about for the things our eyes see, our ears listen to, and so on and so forth. So we should avoid those things. These will cause the value for a fast to decrease. And special mentions to backbiting and slander. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was explaining to his Sahaba radiallahu anhu, what is backbiting? And he said that it is you mentioning about your brother that thing which he does not like. So his companion Sahaba radiallahu anhu asked it, what if I'm talking about is actually found in him? And I say that, look, Shaykh Imran's wearing a brown shirt, and he did not like me to mention that. So now it becomes backbiting. He said, if it's actually found in him, then it is backbiting. Then you're doing backbiting. And if what you're saying is not in him, I'm saying that look at him, he's wearing a pink shirt, and he's not wearing a pink shirt. Now this becomes slander. This is even worse. And it has been mentioned in hadith how these things were, they actually had a physical effect on Sahaba radiallahu anhu. So these are the things which will cause the value of the fast to decrease. And really to such an extent that there's no spiritual benefit. The obligation is fulfilled. You can check off that fasted, yes, I fasted. And inshallah Allah will not ask you about it. But any further reward for it, it's not to be expected. Now there are other such things which, does not, they're lesser in degree. For example, a person, getting into a bit of the technicalities of fasting. If a person, he eats, and there's several types of mistakes in fasting. There's one thing that's done accidentally. There's one thing that's done mistakenly. And then there is something which is done forgetfully. Forgetfully, mistakenly, and accidentally. So if a person, he accidentally, he's gargling his mouth, water goes down into his throat. This was accidental. He remembered that he was fasting, but it was an accident. So he will have to repeat this fast. Inshallah, we hope that he will not get any sin for it because he did not do it, intentionally. It was an accident. There's one thing which is done mistakenly, that a person, he says, okay, I'm going to have my sahri, I'm going to do it well before the time. So he eats, and then he knows the time finishes around 2:30ish. And then when he looks at his watch, he's like, oh my God, it's not 2:30, it's 3:30. So now this is mistaken. That he knew very well, it's not an accident, but it was a mistake. Now this will also cause his fast, he'll have to repeat it. But inshallah, the same type of situation, he will not have to make kafara, he will not be held, accountable that he did it intentionally. And there's those things which a person does forgetfully. A person, he comes home, he's tired, he just goes into the fridge as is his usual routine. He pulls out a bottle of water, opens it up, sits down, bismillah, starts drinking it. And then when he finishes, then his brother tells him, oh, you're fasting! Like, oh my God, I was fasting. Now this was done forgetfully. And in hadith this is mentioned when someone eats, he drinks forgetfully, then this is sadaqah from Allah, and he doesn't even have to make up a fast for this.
Alhamdulillah. That's the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we are forgetful, we are insan, we've been created to forget things, and if something is done unintentionally, then Allah will forgive us. Alhamdulillah, this is very good. And obviously in the month of Ramadan, we also been told to increase our sharing with our fellow human beings, our neighbors, our brothers and sisters. What is the importance of sharing in the month of Ramadan? Sheikh Imran, if you can tell us a little bit.
Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he explained that a person who helps a person in the month of Ramadan, such as to do iftar. So in each masjid, people are breaking fast in all the Islamic centers, at home, even sharing with your neighbor. So all of your sins get forgiven. Just by, it's not, you don't even have to give a complete meal. Even if it's just a thought of sharing with somebody. The month of Ramadan is about giving. The more a person he gives to others, in return Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives back to him. It always comes back tenfold. It's just a small action from our part to help anyone. And it could be, I always tell people that it's not the amount that really matters, it's a thought that counts. Think about, okay, what can I do? Many of us, we live in apartment buildings. On the month of Ramadan, when I used to live in the US, I used to be in a huge apartment building. We used to invite everyone for iftar. We used to select these dates and we used to invite everyone for iftar. And because of this aspect of caring and sharing, subhanAllah, at iftar time, I had people who had non-Muslims, they would come and they would ask questions. And they would, this love that we used to give them, 3 people accepted Islam in my house. Just because of this great act of caring and sharing.
Okay. SubhanAllah. And so that means that this sharing does not limit ourselves to sharing with the Muslims only, but also non-Muslims. I mean, this is something for open to everybody.
The entire community. And anyone and everyone around us, we should be taking care of everyone. And that's Islam. As being a Muslim, we have to be compassionate to everyone. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wasn't sent for a specific type of people or color or race or nation, but he was rahmatan lil alameen. So when we follow that and we be merciful for the entire mankind through our actions speak louder than words. And it doesn't take much to give somebody. And smile. It is Ramadan, we cook this, and they're going to be smelling your kebabs and your biryani and all the great food that you baklava and all the great feasts that we feast after iftar. So share with them, they'll appreciate it, believe you me.
Alhamdulillah, I think that's true because as part of Peace Missions Canada, we've been doing some homeless outreach. So we had one homeless outreach in the first day of Ramadan on May 27th. So as part of that, we've been feeding the homeless in downtown Montreal. And we get together with our friends from the St. George's Anglican Church, and we prepare the meal together, and then we bring the food or the meal to the streets of people and those who are unfortunate. So this is also something part of Ramadan, because this is what we've been trying to encourage our people, our Muslim community members, to share in the month of Ramadan. And as well as we have started another initiative which is called the Fatima's Community Fridge, where that also started on the first day of Ramadan in Little Burgundy, where it is a fridge that is open there on the streets of Montreal in Little Burgundy, in the corner of Saint Jacques and the Seigneur. And Muslims and non-Muslims alike, we're putting the food in the fridge. It's open 24 hours and anybody can take that food. And actually at iftar time, what we notice, there are people actually lining up because they know that food is coming. So they are actually lining up to get that food. So this is something, that's what we're trying to encourage on behalf of Peace Missions Canada, to share the spirit of sharing in the month of Ramadan. And that's a wonderful thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with. Alhamdulillah. So now that we're fasting from suhoor, from dawn until iftar, and obviously at iftar time we're breaking the fast with the dates or water or whatever is available, and then we go into the night prayers. And that night prayers also has a name. It's Tarawih after Isha Salat. So I would request Sheikh Adil to enlighten us with some of the aspects of Tarawih.
Tarawih is one of the sunnahs of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And it comes in hadith to the effect that the one who stands up at night time for Tarawih with Iman and with expectation of reward from Allah, his previous sins will be forgiven. So a person, he should be joining these prayers with expectation of reward from Allah. That Allah is generous. Allah is going to give on His part, and Allah will forgive his sins. And no doubt it is a bit, it's a bit of a challenge, especially being from the working class of people. I know how it is to get up and you've been fasting all day, and then you have some tarawih at night, and then you have to go back to the office the next day. But nonetheless, we should not lose out on this opportunity. This is a great opportunity. Time is ticking on this one, so we should try to gain. And in this Salat Tarawih, generally we try to listen to the entire Quran. This was the practice of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that whatever amount of Quran had been revealed to that point, he would revise it with Jibreel alayhi salam. So this was something which Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did. The month of Ramadan is the month of the Quran. So we should be increasing our bond with the Quran this month. So in Salatul Tarawih, we try to listen to the entire Quran in the Tarawih Salat. We should try, it's sunnah to pray Tarawih every single night. It is sunnah to listen to the Quran. So these are two independent sunnahs. And we should be trying to attain these things.
And so Tarawih is also, that happens after Isha Salat, but there's also Qiyamul Layl. So if you want to make that clear to the audience so that they can know actually there's a difference between Tarawih and the Qiyamul Layl.
These are actually two independent things. Imam Bukhari rahmatullah alayh, in his book of Hadith, Sahih al-Bukhari, he mentioned that Hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha, that she mentions that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he didn't pray more than 8 inside or outside of Ramadan. And this, she's referring to his Qiyamul Layl. That his Qiyam would be something he performed during the month of Ramadan, and he would perform his Qiyamul Layl outside of the month of Ramadan.
So Sheikh, also there is, now that we know that we have the prayers, Tarawih prayers, and as well as the Tahajjud prayers, which is also known as the Qiyamul Layl. But there is also in Ramadan, there is another very important thing that Allah has told us to do also, the zakat. There is the issue of the zakat, as well as the fitrah. So what is the difference between zakat and fitrah, and how we should execute this responsibility?
So zakat is one of the pillars of Islam, and it does not necessarily have to be discharged in the month of Ramadan. But as any enterprising businessman would, he wants to get the most bang on his buck. He's looking for the return on investment. In the month of Ramadan, the reward of a fard is multiplied 70 times, and giving zakat is fard. So if a person discharges it during the month of Ramadan, so zakat is what a person has to give on his savings. So generally for us, because we don't have cows and goats and camels with us here, so I'm not really going to touch into those details. But basically it's 2.5% of a person's savings. This is basically what zakat is. There's more details, and for this you should definitely go to your local scholar, your local imam, because we can't touch all the details here. But basically, if a person, he has savings of say $10,000, and he has a car loan of some amount, say $2,000 or whatever, so he will take his savings minus his debt, which must be paid off within this year, and this will constitute his net worth. So 10,000 minus 2,000 will give 8,000, which is his net worth of this year. He will pay 2.5% of this 8,000, and this will go to the poor Muslims. This is zakat, and it is fard. If you pay it off in the month of Ramadan, inshallah you will get 70 times the reward. Hey, why not?
That's it. Yeah.
Now, sadaqatul fitr or fitrah is something which we must discharge before going for Eid Salat. And this does not necessarily have to be on someone who is considered, who has held onto the money for the period of a year. Zakat is for someone who has this money for a period of a year. Or at the beginning of the year, he had, so-called nisab. And you can go to your local scholars to get the exact details of what is, the amount is on a weight of gold or of silver. And since the value fluctuates, I'll let you go and get the details from your imam so that when you view the program, you can get the current value at that time.
Mhm.
So at the beginning of the year, the lunar year, we should be having nisab. And then at the end of the lunar year, if we have at least nisab, then we are eligible, and actually it's our obligation to pay zakat. Now in terms of fitrah or sadaqatul fitr, which we give before Eid Salat, a person doesn't have to have this money for the period of a year. If he has had this, he has this amount from the time which the Shawwal comes in, which is the night of Maghrib time of right after Ramadan, then a person, he would give this on as many heads there are in his family who he has to take care of. So even if there's children in the house, there's 4 kids. I have 4 kids, and I myself am there. My wife is in the house. My wife is responsible. I'm responsible, and I have to pay on behalf of my children. So these days, fitrah is generally coming up to approximately $8. This is the going value these days. So I would pay for myself, for my 4 children. My wife would pay, or if I pay for my wife and she is aware of it, then that's great. I'll pay 8 times 6, $48, and we should try to give it well before Eid Salat. And amongst the wisdoms is that we allow the less privileged people who do not have this wealth to have a comfortable Eid. Let them also celebrate a bit. They see us coming out in our nice new shiny clothes or freshly washed and good looking clothes. Let them also buy something nice for their kids, get some nice food. If they get a chance, let them buy some nice clothes for their kids.
Mhm.
This is fitrah.
Alhamdulillah. But one thing is a tradition also for us, for especially people of the South Asian background, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, that we notice that this fitrah is given at the Eid day, on the field. Is that something there's real significance, or just is more like a tradition?
Look, it should be, what's mentioned in the hadith is that it should be done before the salat.
Right.
So, I guess this is, as they call it in manufacturing terms, just in time,
Mm-hmm.
or in human terms, as late as possible. So that's sort of like the last limit, or that's the latest time that we should be getting it.
Right.
So we're waiting for as late as possible. But if we can do it a bit before, then it could be a means for these less privileged people to enjoy a bit.
Right.
And this is, this is a time for enjoyment, so it would be a nice thing to do. And one more thing I wanted to bring up. You're talking about South Asian community and stuff we do on Eid morning. It is not fard to have sawai on Eid morning. It's not from the faraid of Eid Salat.
It is not part of what?
It's not fard to eat sawai.
Oh, okay, sweets. Okay. Halwa sweets. Okay.
Because us,
Except for the tomorrow.
Yeah, except for the tea.
if you're living in Canada, then I might say that you might. No, I'm just joking.
So alhamdulillah, so that's very good, and I know that Ramadan is also a very exciting time for the kids. Many kids, they like to fast in the month of Ramadan. So what's the rules for the kids to fast in the month of Ramadan, Sheikh Imran?
Of course, children, they're young. Fasting is not obligatory upon them. Fasting is obligatory only when you pass the puberty age, or when you turn 15.
Mm-hmm.
But children generally should be encouraged to fast. Now, the children in Montreal, the majority of them are still in school, so it's a bit difficult. In the last 10 days of Ramadan, it's going to be a bit easier in Montreal because kids will be off. But the Sahaba, the companions of Rasulullah and our Salaf, people of the past, they used to encourage their children. And how would they encourage their children? We should do so as well. Now, they would all wake up And remember, I'm not saying it's obligatory on the children. I'm saying encourage your children. And when you talk about encouraging your children, you want to find very new ways. You want to try to see what you can do to get the job done. Sometimes we want to wake up at 6 o'clock and then we have to go for a trip. So you do what you want to do to get the kid up at 6 o'clock, right? Sometimes you want the kid to clean up the room. You will bribe him and you will take him to Toys R Us and you will take him to Walmart and you will do what you got to do to get the job done, right? If it comes to bribing and giving, So in the same way, first of all, us adults, we should have the greatness of fasting and we should believe in it, that fasting got to be done. Right? Now, we have to transform that into children. And before I talk about transforming into children, we as adults, we should really be enthusiastic about our fasting. When the children see us that, wow, Mama and Baba, my parents are really into this fasting, they're and not just as Sheikh Adil said, and we're learning that fasting is not just to stay hungry and thirsty, but if they really see you in the whole state of fasting, so you're reading Quran, your house something's going on in your house, it's not the same, the environment is very different, maybe you can burn some agarbatti or some incense, make it something special, make Ramadan something special. So the adults are making it special. Now tell the children, okay, why don't you, Saturday, Sunday, maybe you can try one fast. And the rest of the days, do half fast, right? Until lunchtime. At the age of 5, then at the age of 6, do something more. Okay, maybe now you can do 2 fasts. As they gradually increase their age, subhanAllah, I have kids in my madrasa, they did 1 fast, and their parents bought them such a huge cake or such a big bite from Walmart. Next year, the kid by himself, he's saying, I want to do 2 fasts. I want to fast. And the same reward that Allah Ta'ala will give to the adults. Allah Ta'ala, these children, they're pure, they're innocent. This is their step ladder, this is their stepping stone to get to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. If we inculcate this ibadat, this worship right now in them, by themselves, inshallah, they will start to fast.
Alhamdulillah. Yes, because they are the future flag bearer of Islam, and we have to, encourage them from the early age. So 100% that this is something very important for the kids and our families to make sure that as adults we encourage them. So also, as we're touching the different aspects of Ramadan, it's very important to it would be a complete program without talking about the Messiah or the jurisprudence for the women folk during Ramadan. So what is the rules for the women to fast in the month of Ramadan?
Now, mashallah, our ladies, Allah reward them. They make a lot of effort, and the bodies of men and women are not the same. And the women, they go through different periods in the month, and it's sometimes challenging. So when they're in a regular condition, they have not reached this period of the time in the month where they are not generally praying. So in this period of the month, they will not be praying, as is normal. But neither will they fast. Now, what happens, where the confusion usually arises, is when a woman enters this state while she was okay in the morning. She was in a normal state of tuhur, a state of purity in the morning, and then she entered this state later on in the day. Then the confusion arises that what should she do? So at that point, once she enters this state, then her fast is broken. She will have to make up this fast at a later point. But it should be very clear that she is not fasting. Now, some scholars have expressed it that she should eat something. Others have expressed it that she should also remain like the fasting people. So basically, like I mentioned before, that if someone happens to break their fast for whatever reason, either it was mistakenly, either it was accidentally, and even if it was on purpose, In this situation where a woman enters this state, it was not from any fault of her own. This is from what Allah has sent down. So Allah is not holding her, and putting any type of punishment on her. But her fast is broken, but the time nonetheless is sacred. So if she eats something, she's not fasting, it's fine. But she should do it in a concealed manner, and rather, once she's done this so that it becomes clear that she's not fasting, then throughout the rest of the day, she should maintain this this action of staying away and copying, resembling the fasting people, not because she's fasting, but more out of the sanctity of the time.
So, since you were talking about the breaking the fast, and also there's some penalty associated when you break the fast, right, or the make-up fast. So there's a thing called fidya and there's a thing called kafara. So which is what and how they should be executed?
Okay, so when a person breaks his fast, there are several things. First, the least degree is called qada. Qada is when a person, or qaza, as we might commonly hear it, that a person just makes up that fast. Then there is kafara, when a person intentionally breaks his fast. And this is the fast of Ramadan. He intentionally breaks his fast, then he must make kafara, which is to fast for 60 days straight. He will have to fast 60 days straight. And then there is fidya, which is given on behalf of a person who is so weak that he cannot fast now, and he is not expected to be able to fast in the future. So for this person, some cash value is given on, in lieu of the fast. Healthy people, young people, who have a hope that they might be able to fast down the line, for them, they're not eligible to give fidya. Fidya is only for those people who there is no hope that they will be able to fast. So, just taking a couple of minutes to get into this, when is qada due? What causes the fast to be broken? So we mentioned already that when a person, he does something forgetfully, it slipped his mind that he was fasting, he ate, he drank, he had marital relations, his fast is not broken. He does not even have to make up this fast. If a person, he breaks his fast forgetfully or mistakenly. So, accidentally or mistakenly. Accidentally, water came into his mouth while he was, gargling his mouth. He will have to make qada. Other reasons why a person is allowed to break his fast, if he gets sick. For example, I get migraines. Now, if I'm having migraine to such an extent that I cannot tolerate it, and then I decide to take a migraine pill, will I have to give kafara for this? Will I have to fast 60 days straight because I broke my fast intentionally? No. Because I was sick. I broke my fast, I'll just have to make up a fast. And if a person, he is forced by someone to eat something, his friend says, "Look, man, you're going to eat this food and you will enjoy it." "No, please, no!" And then he forces something into his mouth. Well, his fast is broken, but he will just have to make one qaza. He'll just have to make up that one fast. If a person vomits, many times this question arises, that vomiting is a cause of a person's fast to break. If a person vomits, because in migraines, sensitivity to light, sensitivity to sound, and it induces vomiting. So if I vomit unintentionally, no matter how much food I vomit, my fast is not broken. If a person, he induces vomiting, and more than a mouthful comes out, then he will have to make up a fast. This will cause his fast to break, he will have to make qaza. But if less than a mouthful comes out, then his fast is still alright. If he swallowed down his vomit, which is different than the instinctive thing, that your throat will just try to keep down whatever is coming. But if a person, he catches it in his mouth and then he's like, swallows it back, this will cause his fast to break. And he will have to make one qaza up for this. And for that sick person, and that old person, we can give fidya on his behalf. Another question, sometimes people ask about injections. Does it cause my fast to break? No, it does not cause a person's fast to break. You can get injection. Sometimes, we have
blood test.
Blood test.
Yes.
We're taking something out. This does not cause a person's fast to break. A person, sometimes there are people who, very close friends of mine who are diabetic. They start off in the morning trying to fast, but when they check their blood, so checking your blood will not cause your fast to break. But then when he finds that his blood sugar is so low that if he's not going to take some sugar, then he's going to be in a very bad state. Then he should take some sugar. And if Allah gives him health later down, some technological advancement comes up, alhamdulillah, that he can fast, then he should fast. But if at that point he reaches an old age and he has no hope of fasting, then he should give fidya.
Alhamdulillah. So definitely there is those knowledge and those rules are there for us to benefit, and if it's a logical thing that if a person is which you call he's sick or he's diabetic and he cannot fast, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that the sickness also came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is something Allah will understand. So alhamdulillah, so now that we're coming, that we got all the masail and all the jurisprudence and the regulations about fasting. In the month of Ramadan, there is towards the end of Ramadan actually. We are in the middle right now. Today is the 15th of Ramadan. So we're right in the middle. Alhamdulillah. So now we have, as you know, Ramadan it has three portions. The first portion, the first 10 days, the middle 10 days, and the last 10 days. And in the last 10 days, there's two important things. One is the Laylatul Qadr and also the Itikaf. So Sheikh Imran, if you can briefly tell us what is Laylatul Qadr and what is Itikaf.
So, Laylatul Qadr, night of power. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Laylatul Qadr khayru min alfi shahr. That the night of power, the night of Laylatul Qadr is better than 1,000 months. Alf shahr. So 1,000 months is 83.3 years, 33 years. 83. So 83 years, can you imagine? So just one night is better than 83 years, 1,000 months. So indeed, it's a time that we should be seeking for and we should be looking. When is the night of Laylatul Qadr? People generally believe it's the 27th or the 29th. Whereas the real date of Laylatul Qadr is not known to us. But there's a hadith, sayings of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in which it comes down to the last 10 nights of Ramadan. It could be more so, it could be throughout the year. But then in Ramadan, then there's more hadith to say last 10 nights. Then they say the last 10 odd nights of Ramadan. Then they start saying 20, so which are 21, 23, 25, 27, 29. And then they say the last 3 nights. And then it comes down to 27th, 29th. But again, the purpose of like one of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said the person who worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only in the month of Ramadan, or only on selected nights, or only on selected dates and times and places, he has truly not worshipped Allah. We as servants of Allah, as obedient servants of Allah, we are supposed to seek the night throughout the entire year, seek the night at all times, so that if a person is worshipping at all nights, then he will guarantee he will be able to pick that night up. But yes, I mean, if we should try to find this night, 21st, 23rd, 25th, 27th, 29th, and in this night of Laylatul Qadr, a person, he can go to the masjid, or in his home, get the whole family together, do some more ibadah, read some more Quran, make some more dhikr, make tawbah, istighfar to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, read some hadith, all kinds of amal, make some good intentions for the next year. What are you going to do from this Ramadan to the next Ramadan? The night of power, Allah Ta'ala accepts your du'as. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts your du'as. Allah Ta'ala forgives the people. And we all have problems in our lives today. Every child, every adult, marital relations, every person is going through a tough time. This is the time to ask Allah. And Allah Ta'ala says, if you ask me, I'll give you, and I'll give you, and I'll give you. The second portion, the second great aspect of the last 10 nights of Ramadan is i'tikaf. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he encouraged us to do i'tikaf. He himself, he did i'tikaf. And actually, if i'tikaf is such what is i'tikaf? I'tikaf in Arabic means to actually go and stick to the curtain of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to go stick very close to Allah to the extent that you get what you want. So a person, he goes and he stays in the masjid for 10 days, right? And that's the sunnah i'tikaf. People, they do nafil i'tikaf as well, and the nafil i'tikaf can be done for one night or 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. You just go to the masjid and you do i'tikaf, you make intention for i'tikaf. But the sunnah i'tikaf that Rasulullah would perform is that you go inside the masjid 10 nights total, and you stick to the cloth of Allah, to the masjid, until you get forgiven. Rasulullah he said, the person who does i'tikaf, he goes trenches, qanadiq, away from Jahannam. His sins get forgiven. And from when you see the hilal of Eid, when you see the moon of Eid and it's announced at Eid, now this person, he's getting up, and he's free from all sins. So again, Laylatul Qadr and i'tikaf is an opportunity. It's an avenue, it's a path that we can go on and we can get into for that person who wants to get to Allah and he wants to be forgiven. And who knows what will happen if I die after getting forgiven. Alhamdulillah, I'll be going to paradise, especially in this month of Ramadan.
Alhamdulillah, inshallah. And this is such a blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us so much opportunity, especially in the last 10 days. But that doesn't end there, does it? I mean, Ramadan is supposed to boost ourselves for the rest of the year. So in a way. So obviously at the end of Ramadan we have the celebration of Eid, and often people, Ramadan has ended, and then as if that's the end of everything. So what is Eid, and how should the reflection of Ramadan should carry on for the rest of the year?
So basically summed it up very nicely that it should be continuing on, that like Sheikh Imran mentioned, that in Ramadan, when Ramadan starts, the shayateen are tied up. Now some people ask that how come we still feel an inclination to do sins? It's because of what shaitan has already made second nature in us. You stir a cup of coffee, you take the spoon out, the coffee is still going to be spinning. So the same way, in this month of Ramadan, we should have made such an effort on ourselves that we stop the flow the shaitan had made, and we start spinning the other direction, towards the obedience of Allah. We're spinning for the obedience of Allah. So now the month of Ramadan comes to an end. Eid comes, but our amal should not come to a stop. Because of the effort we had made during the month of Ramadan, these should be going, they should be continuing, perpetuating throughout the rest of the year. So the night of Eid is a night of ibadah also. Just like the night of Laylatul Qadr is a night of ibadah, the night of Eid is also a night of ibadah, of worship. And we should really check ourselves that, where do we stand? That I was coming to the masjid for, Fajr, I was coming for Taraweeh, I was coming for Isha, I was sometimes coming for Maghrib. If I had the ability, I was not in the office or school for Dhuhr and Asr, then I would also be in the masjid. How can this continue onwards? And this is what we should be striving for. We are rejoicing that Allah gave us this opportunity. Now when someone gives you something, how do you tell him thank you? You just take it and walk away from him? You show gratitude in the way which is appropriate. And the way what Allah demands from us. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ I have not created humans and jinn except for my worship. So we should continue this worship. Just like Shaitan made an effort, we should reverse this flow and make an effort so that it continues throughout the rest of the year until the next Ramadan.
Alhamdulillah. So, our listeners, we're coming to the end of our program, and the program, as you can see, that we have covered different aspects of Ramadan and what are the things that we should be doing and what are the things we should not be doing. But overall, Ramadan is the month of repentance and the month of istighfar, is asking Allah for forgiveness. So I would request Sheikh Imran to summarize that how we can maximize through in Ramadan through this tawbah and istighfar.
So, the month of Ramadan is the month of forgiveness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He forgives everyone. So there's hope for every single person. There'll be one person, Allah ta'ala, He said, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, He mentions that there'll be one person in Jahannam. He'll be in Jahannam. And it's a long story, but I'm going to cut it short. So he will ask Allah, and he'll be burning in Jahannam, and he'll be, so this is to explain how merciful and how great the rahmat of Allah is. He will ask Allah, oh Allah, please take me out from Jahannam. He will not ask for Jannah. He will say, oh Allah, just take me out from Jahannam. So after a lot of negotiation with Allah, he's going to ask him. So Allah wants us to be successful. Just listen to that and know that. So after a long time, Allah will say, okay, so he will take him out from Jahannam, and he will just put him into, not into Jannah, but he'll be just on the borderline. Then a long time will pass again, and he will ask Allah, oh Allah, please, you took me out from Jahannam. Is it possible? Is there some way you can put me just into Jannah? And Allah loves you. Allah loves us. So Allah will put him into Jannah. And then again he will ask, oh Allah, I know I don't deserve it. I asked you, but and he'll continue to ask until he will get into Jannah. Then some time will pass and he will have stayed quiet. He will not have asked Allah anything. And then Allah will say to him that, oh my Abd, what happened? How come you're not talking anymore? You're staying quiet. He will say, Sa'altu, fastahid. I asked you so much and you kept on giving me, and now I'm sharminda. Now I'm really embarrassed. Oh, now you got embarrassed after asking me all this. So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, go, I'll give you 10 times this Jannah. Allah will. So the month of Ramadan is the time when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's doors of forgiveness are wide open. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Hadith al-Qudsi, Ya ibn Adam, لو بلغت ذنوبك عنان السماء ثم استغفرتني فغفرت لك ولا أبالي. O ibn Adam, if your sins become so much that they fill the vastness of the skies, which is impossible for insan to make so much sin. Allah says, you come to me in this state and you ask me for forgiveness, I'll forgive you. And I'll not remind you again, oh, remember that time that sin, you asked me for forgiveness, I forgave you, and now you're doing that sin again. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His doors for forgiveness are open, especially in this month of Ramadan. I always tell my youth especially that make small intentions, take baby steps towards good, towards Jannah, towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We all make mistakes. We're human. We all make mistakes. If you made a mistake, it doesn't mean that you're the worst person on the surface of this earth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He can enter you into paradise by something you can't even imagine. But you have to make tawbah. You have to make tawbah. Today should be the last day of that sin, that unique sin that you're doing. It could be on Facebook, it could be on Snapchat, it could be on Twitter, it could be on YouTube, whatever social media, whatever it might be. Bit by bit, leave the sin. When you leave the sin, what will happen? You'll feel good by yourself. Depression, anxiety, and stress is synonymous to disobeying Allah. A person disobeys Allah, immediately he's going to get stressed, he's going to be depressed. All of these wrong things are going to happen. The only way to start a bright future and to actually stand up and say and be happy with yourself is to leave the life of sin. Ask Allah, all you have to do is raise your hand, oh Allah, please forgive me. Allah Ta'ala forgives. You start a brand new life. Ramadan is half of Ramadan has finished. We have half left. Let's try to make the most of it and get close to Allah. Whatever is the path of the past, bury it, let it go. If you didn't pray, if you didn't fast, if you didn't do whatever you're supposed to do to the fullest, okay, we made a mistake. Let's learn from our mistakes and let's go forward. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ask Allah Ta'ala that Allah Ta'ala He gives us the best of Ramadan and He forgives us in this blessed month and He gives us the opportunity to move forward in a good way.
Alhamdulillah, that's a beautiful message. Jazakallah khair. And it's with that message actually that Ramadan is also about hope, and that I hope that Allah will forgive us and Allah will accept all our worships and the prayers that we're making in this blessed month. So due to the time constraint, obviously we haven't been able to cover all the different aspects in detail of Ramadan, but at least we hope that through this discussion you were able to cover the main important topics. and hopefully our listeners they can benefit from this. And on behalf of, we thank you all, the TV Asia, for bringing this, having this opportunity to come and discuss about Ramadan and importance of Ramadan. So Jazakallah khair, thank you Sheikh Imran and Sheikh Adil for being with us here today in the TV Asia studio. And also on behalf of Canadian Muslim Alliance and Peace Initiatives Canada, we thank you all, and I hope that you continue benefiting from this month of Ramadan, and inshallah we all have another half, the other half of the Ramadan to benefit from. So inshallah, let's come together and submit ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and maximize our efforts for the rest of the remaining Ramadan, inshallah. তো আমাদের উপস্থিত আমাদের যেহেতু এটা সবার সম্পূর্ণের জন্য আমরা এই অনুষ্ঠানটা আমরা ইংলিশে করেছি, কিন্তু আশা করি ইনশাআল্লাহ এইটার দ্বারা আপনারা কিছু অ্যাটলিস্ট কিছুটা ইনফরমেশন আপনারা জানতে পারছেন রমজান সম্পর্কে। তো আমরা ধন্যবাদ জানাই টিভি এশিয়াকে তাদেরকে ইনিশিয়েটিভের জন্য, যে আলহামদুলিল্লাহ মন্ট্রিয়ালে কানাডাতে এরকম একটা ইনিশিয়েটিভ নেওয়ার জন্য, যেখানে আমাদের ফিউচার জেনারেশনের জন্য এবং সবার জন্য একটা প্ল্যাটফর্ম যেখানে তারা যেন ইসলামিক জ্ঞান অর্জন করতে পারে। তো এটার জন্য আমরা টিভি এশিয়াকে ধন্যবাদ জানাই, এবং অলসো আমাদের সাথে শেখ ইমরান, ইমাম মাদানী মসজিদ মন্ট্রিয়াল, অলসো বোর্ড মেম্বার Canadian Muslim Alliance, এবং myself আমি মুসাব্বির আলম, and also আমাদের শেখ আদিল আহমেদ, co-founder Canadian Muslim Alliance। তো সবার পক্ষ থেকে আপনাদেরকে ধন্যবাদ, এবং আশা করি ইনশাআল্লাহ ভবিষ্যতে আপনাদের সাথে আবার দেখা হবে ইনশাআল্লাহ। আসসালামু আলাইকুম ওয়া রাহমাতুল্লাহি ওয়া বারাকাতুহু।